Hey everybody, we're going to be doing the sweets and treats cookie set today. I've got all my cookies, my sprinkles, icing, skewer, and napkin to keep everything clean. And we're going to go ahead and get started. We are going to start with our cupcake. Remember, on your piping bag, you're going to find the seam right here and turn it over and then pull that out flat, and you're going to cut straight across the tip of the icing bag, okay? Small hole to start, and you can always make it bigger. To open it back up, we're going to find that seam again and push down, okay? Remember, when you're holding your piping bag, you always want to hold it at the back of the bag so that you're applying equal amounts of pressure. For our cupcake, we're going to start with the frosting. So I'm going to start here in this corner, and I'm going to just apply enough pressure to get the icing on the cookie, and I'm going to lift up and drop a rope of icing around the edge, just like this. I'm gonna flood it in, and that means I'm gonna push harder on the piping bag and stack that icing up so it makes a nice puffy 3D flood. Use your stick, make sure it's clean, to get rid of any lines or pop any bubbles. Okay, and since this is the top of the cupcake, we're going to go ahead and put some sprinkles on here. So just a few on the top and going down the sides. We'll put more on when we do that second layer. Just like this. Make sure you've got a variety of colors on there so it looks nice and pretty. Okay. Now we're going to do the icing in stages because we want to have that nice defining line in between each layer so that it looks more realistic. So I'm going to start here in this corner, and I'm going to pipe and come down to this corner. Okay. And I'm going to go ahead and fill in that shape. So that'll be the bottom half of our icing. And we're going to let that dry for a little bit and then come back and do the middle portion. And then we'll still have these separating lines, which will make it look more realistic and fun. Okay, there is my cupcake. I'm going to move that one out of the way just for a minute. Let that one dry for a little bit. Okay, I actually have a fan over here. A fan will help you speed up your drying process. Okay, so if you want to have it dry a little quicker, bring out a fan. This is my small fan that I've got. You can use any fan, but just make sure it's only on the cookie that's drying. It's not on the cookies that you're working with at the moment, okay? So my ice cream cone over here, we're gonna use some brown, and we're going to cut our piping bag. Remember, we've got our seam is right here. We're gonna flip it over, pull it out straight, and then cut straight across, just like this. Okay, you always start with a small hole. You can make it bigger if you'd like. And then you open it up, and you just push down like that, okay? So, we've got our ice cream cone right here. We're gonna start right here in this corner, and we're gonna pipe an outline all the way down to the bottom. And that icing hole is actually a little too small, so I'm gonna cut it just a little bit bigger. Okay, there we go. Okay, and I'm gonna fill in this area. I'm gonna flood it. Remember, we're stacking that icing up nice and high. Don't be afraid of too much icing. You need that for it to settle. Okay, all the way through. And take your scribe tool. Go around like this. Just make sure all the areas are filled in. There's no holes, no air bubbles. Give a little shake. Actually sticking the cookie with the stick and giving it a little shake. Okay. All right. While that's there, I'm actually gonna pipe and flood the ice cream part too. So I'm gonna drop my line around the ice cream cone top. And then fill it in. Take your skewer and make sure everything is settled out. Great. We're going to let this guy sit in front of the fan for a minute too so he can get a little crust up, and then we'll add some other details. Okay. All right. So I'm going to come over here, and we have our popsicle. And what we're going to do is we're going to flood our popsicle area, and then again it's going to need some drying time, but we're going to give it some fun stripes. So we have our pink. We're going to start here at the corner, apply gentle pressure, lift up, and drop that rope of icing all the way around the edges. Okay, go ahead and flood that in. Make sure to get all the way to the edge. Don't be afraid of too much icing. All the way in. Okay. Take your skewer, make sure it's nice and clean, and we're just gonna knock out those lines. Make sure everything is covered. Give it a little shake just to help everything settle out. Okay, and while that's still wet, we're gonna add some diagonal white lines. So make sure your piping tip is clean. My hands are clean, and I'm always just grabbing at the end there. So I'm gonna start with a diagonal line in the corner. We go straight across. And you want to do this while it's still wet so that the white lines will sink into the pink and it'll be flush. So they won't be sticking out on top. Okay. Okay, good. That's all we're gonna do with our popsicle for right now. So we're gonna go ahead and push that one in front of the fan as well. Give it some drying time. Our donut here, this is gonna be the easiest one of our entire set, okay? All we're gonna do is we're gonna pipe a circle around that middle circle, just like this. This does not have to be perfect. Okay, and then we're gonna draw a squiggly line around the edge. And we're just going to drop our rope and just keep going back and forth to make some squiggles. And that's it. All we have to do now is flood it and add some sprinkles. So we're gonna flood in our icing, go all the way to the edge, just like this. Keep going, all the way around the middle, okay? Use our skewer. Oh, sorry. And break up any of those lines. Stick the cookie, give it a little shake. Shake, 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 shake. You can use your hands too. Okay. Then we're gonna add some fun sprinkles. So we're just gonna put our sprinkles on there. You wanna do it while it's wet, obviously, because then the sprinkles will be locked into the icing when it dries. And they won't be spilling all over the place. Okay, make sure you got a fun amount of color on there. Oops. Super cute. Okay, and if some of your sprinkles go off the edge and you don't like the way that looks, you can take your skewer and just nudge them back over like this. Okay. just like that. And there's our donut. Easy peasy. All right. We're gonna bring our cupcake back front and center, and we're gonna do that middle section and the bottom part pink. Or I'm sorry, the middle section white and then the bottom part pink. So because that's dried up a little bit, when we put in this middle section, you're still gonna see that defining line in between the swirl layers. Okay. Okay, so just outline that and then flood it in. All right, make sure all the spots are filled in. Just like that. And because there's sprinkles all along the top, we want to make sure there's some right here too, so that it looks like the sprinkles went all along the top. Cool. All right, that bottom section, we're gonna grab our pink, and we're gonna go right along the bottom of the icing right here. Come down to the top and then fill it in. And we'll go ahead and use our skewer to knock out those lines. Just like that. Okay, we'll come back in a minute and put some lines on that on the bottom of the cupcake and give it a little more detail. All right, now we're gonna bring our popsicle back. We're gonna do the little stick of the popsicle just like this. Make sure you guys can see that. Sorry, it's not in the middle. And then flood it in. Okay. Take your skewer, knock it out. Okay, and put that one back under the fan for a little bit. Again, you don't have to have a fan. If you don't have one, you can just give it 10 to 15 minutes between steps to dry a little bit, just so that it gets a nice crust over it. It's not dry by any means, but it's gonna have a little crust so you can add details. Okay, so for this guy, we're gonna add some lines on the cone. So we're just gonna drop some diagonal lines here and here. We'll do a few in the other direction as well. Okay, just like that. We're also going to put a little bit of topping here. So I'm going to pipe a kind of a squiggly pattern up here and fill it in. Use my scribe tool to make sure that's all filled in. And add some sprinkles. Okay, you can even do a little drop falling here, drop falling there. Okay. Okay, we're almost done with that guy, but he needs a little bit more work, so we're gonna put him back in front of the fan. We'll give him a few more minutes to dry. We'll take our popsicle. We're gonna give him a little topping like the ice cream cone too, but we're gonna use white. So I'm just gonna start right here and I'm gonna do some squiggles. Squigglies like this, go around the top. Fill that in like so. Okay, and of course that one needs some sprinkles as well. If they fall off, you can just nudge them back on. With your skewer tool, you can use them to move around like that. Very good. Okay. Our popsicle is finished, so he's all done. We can leave him alone. The popsicle and the donut are good. Okay. On our cupcake here, we're gonna give some line details to the bottom. So all I'm gonna do is do 3 horizontal or vertical lines going straight down the pink part. So I'm gonna start in the middle, just like that. And I'm gonna cut this part in half, just like that. And this part as well. Done and done. Okay. All right, so 3 out of our 4 cupcakes are finished. We're gonna bring our ice cream cone back over. Now this is optional, but we are going to put a swirl of the white and we're gonna cross over that area where the ice cream meets the cone, okay? And I'm gonna let that dry for just a second, and then I'm gonna go in and rough it up with my skewer tool and make it look like the fluffy part of the bottom of a ice cream scoop, okay? So I'm gonna let that dry. Okay, so now that this is dried for a little bit, I'm gonna go in and take my skewer, and I'm just gonna rough up that icing and make it look like the bottom fluffy part of an ice cream cone. All right. Give some fun swirls back and forth. That's it, you're finished. Good job, guys. Make sure these sit out for 6 to 8 hours to completely dry. The icing will be hard like a candy coating. Leave them out uncovered on your counter, room temperature for 6 to 8 hours or overnight, and then they'll be good. You can package them and do whatever you'd like with them. All right, thanks, bye.